Hello and welcome to the Easter edition of Faith Matters. This is the show where we look at Liverpool life through the prism of faith and belief. And our guest in the studio today is Father Tony O'Brien, who is the Dean of Liverpool Metropolitan Cathedral, otherwise known as the Met, or as Paddy's Wigwam, various names it has. And Tony, Tony, you were on Antiques Roadshow this week?
Yes.
This week.
Yeah. We had two weeks of the programmes being shown, really, from the Met. A lot of it filmed down in the crypt of the cathedral, and then some upstairs as well. So I was on with this chest that we discovered in 2009, which was interesting.
And how much was it worth?
At the end, they were unsure, but they just put a figure of between 20 and 30,000 on it. But some of it was 17th century. But we discovered it behind a closed bricked-in wall, which was quite interesting.
Okay, so I mean, obviously you're a Scouser.
Yes.
And you're born and bred in Liverpool. Whereabouts in Liverpool are you from?
Yes, from the Anfield area. Everton Valley, St Domingo Road was where I was brought up until the family moved to Knotty Ash when I was a teenager.
Right, okay.
Kendod land,
Jambuty
mines and everything else, and then, I went away to college and then on to Durham University and trained as a priest in the seminary up in the northeast. So then sort of discovered the wider world outside of Liverpool and was ordained at the age of 24 as a priest.
Did you come back to Liverpool then, or
yes,
straight back to Liverpool?
Yes. I, as a diocesan priest, you are part of a diocese, and so you stay and work within that diocese for all of your priestly career, if you like. So I've sort of always been a priest within the Liverpool Archdiocese.
And what areas?
That sort of stems from almost Preston, the Isle of Man, Salford, just the borders of Salford, and of course the line of the Mersey, really, which is Widnes and right round.
And so where did you serve as a priest?
I began in Netherton. I had 5 years in Netherton. I enjoyed it there because you always enjoy your first parish as a priest, young priest, lots of enthusiasm and energy, and had a lovely time there. It's great people, and I think life was sort of exciting then, and then so moved on from there to Skelmersdale, where there was a team ministry, and with it being a new town, they had an ecumenical centre in the middle, which is
for our viewers, that's working with other denominations.
Sure, there was a team of Catholic priests. There was four of us, but then also we worked closely with the ecumenical centre. There were one or two other Anglican parishes, but the ecumenical centre had Anglican and Methodist ministers there, so we worked quite closely with them as well. So it was quite an interesting concept there, because for us it was unusual to be in a team ministry. It was one of the only examples in our diocese where we had that.
And are there more now?
No, there are one or two slightly different models in the Lee area and also in the Widnes area, which has just started out.
And of course there's a lot of schools working together, or joint schools, Anglican, Roman Catholic schools.
Yes, That's been a growing phenomenon in recent years,
And so how long have you been the Dean now?
10 years.
10 years.
10 years in the cathedral,
Okay, good experience. You're not going to say otherwise, really, are you?
No, I love it. It's really busy. It's a busy cathedral. It's a big cathedral in Catholic terms. Probably in terms of the life around it, it's probably the second most important in the country. Westminster being the first, and then Liverpool being in the north, really, the major cathedral, Catholic cathedral in the north. And life is so varied. It's great. You could be dealing with a concert one part of the day, and then an important service, and then some sort of other gathering of people. It's just so varied.
And you can be drinking real ale, because you had the Real Ale Festival in there.
Once a year we have the Canberra Real Ale Festival, not in the cathedral, mind you, down in the crypt.
Yeah.
And
do you get down there and sample a couple?
We have a cathedral night.
Oh, do you? Yeah.
The night before the main events start. So we have just like, it's more of a sort of family occasion. People don't go crazy drinking,
No.
but it's a nice way of raising some money for charity, and also having a decent social night, really. So yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful cathedral, I find, and particularly inside. I'm not saying it's not beautiful outside, but when you go in,
its real beauty is the inside, isn't it?
and the light coming through the windows. Sure. And I mean, I quite often go in the day and pray, and because the little chapels, and I'm down in that part of town.
The lovely thing for me is it changes throughout the day. So I always feel the cathedral's alive, you know, because the colour and the light coming through keeps it varied throughout the day. So the morning it starts off, and there's different colours in the morning to the late afternoon, where the stronger colours like red sort of shine through right across the cathedral more strongly. And one of the lovely things is, as I'm going up and down to the cathedral throughout the day, there's always people in there just finding a little quiet corner.
Yeah.
And it's people of the Catholic faith, but of all Christian faiths and of none, who just enjoy and love the peace and the stillness that there is there, and that wonderful light, really. It gives people a sense of a presence beyond them, really.
Yeah, that's true, and I also like the circularity of it. That you know, wherever you are in it, you're facing the altar, sure. And there's a kind of, it says something about our kind of equality before God. You know, where I don't know if that was deliberate on the part of the architect or the.
Well, I think he was being guided by the committee of the archdiocese at the time, there was a new church council at the time called the Vatican Council, and the changes that were coming out of that Vatican Council were that the priest would celebrate Mass with the people. He would be the president of the assembly of people gathered around the altar together, as opposed to the people praying through the priest to God, where he had his back to the people with the altar facing the east, and people prayed through the priest to God. But a different concept, really, that came out of the Vatican Council. And you know, it's great for worship. Like, for instance, we have a really important gathering this week where we fill the cathedral with a massive chrism, and it's totally full, and yet everybody feels a part. Yeah. You're not at the back. Everybody's sort of gathered around.
It lends itself to that. Yeah. And of course, it was supposed to be much bigger than it actually is. Is that right? There's down in the new museum, there's a model of...
The model is the former attempt at the cathedral, which was designed by Sir Edmund Lutyens, and that would have been twice the size, if not a little bit more, than the existing cathedral, but in a neoclassical style, a very different style of architecture than we have now.
European, isn't it? Yeah.
And with a very large dome. It would have been quite significantly taller and even larger than Liverpool Cathedral, our sister cathedral down the road. And you know, following the Second World War, it would have broke the diocese, and there just wasn't the appetite to build such a magnificent building with all the problems that we faced after the Second World War.
It has been said that Liverpool is the most Roman Catholic city in England. It faces Dublin and not London. You know, how true is that? I mean, obviously that was true in the past. Is that still true today?
Probably yes and no would be the answer, really. Yes, I mean, we've had waves of Catholicism in the Northwest. I mean, the original Catholics of the Northwest were Lancashire Catholics who you know, following the Reformation, because it was quite a distance away from London, you know, there were pockets of estates where people just hung on to their Catholic faith.
So they could be safe.
And then what followed, as you say, there was waves of Irish immigration into Liverpool, and that then boosted the Catholic population quite significantly.
So that's obviously your heritage, isn't it?
That's right. My dad was Irish. He was... his mother died at an early age, and he went to an orphanage, learnt the trade of tailoring, and then came over to found work in Liverpool, and then married a Liverpool girl.
And does the Roman Catholic Church still influence? Is it still got such a strong influence?
I'd say we're probably still between 25% and 33% of the local population. In places like, for instance, St Helens and Wigan, quite a high proportion of Catholics around those areas, even Warrington. And not, people, if you ask them, what religion are you? About a third, I would say, they have Catholic background.
So not just Liverpool, but across the Merseyside region.
It's the whole of the Archdiocesan region, really, that we cover. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And so as the dean, you kind of run the cathedral, and or is that what you would say, or you have spiritual oversight?
I suppose oversight of everything, really, on behalf of the Archbishop. It's his cathedral. I have his authority to make decisions about it in every way. So, basically all the issues come to me. There's lots of people who work alongside me who handle tricky issues, but building issues, financial issues, as you say, spiritual issues, oversight of the spiritual matters for the cathedral, all those different things really sit under me. But there's a team of people who look after that.
Okay, well, thank you. And we're going to go to our commercial break now, and then we'll come back with some more questions. Thank you, Tony.
Thanks.
Welcome back to Faith Matters, our Easter edition with Father Tony O'Brien from the Met Cathedral. Welcome back, Tony. Let's talk about Hope Street. Hope Street spans the distance between your cathedral, the Met Cathedral, and the Anglican Cathedral. But Hope Street was there before those two cathedrals.
It wasn't named after the two cathedrals were built. It was well before that, yeah.
But it's become kind of apt, really. And you've got the statues there of Archbishop Warlock and Bishop David Shepherd. There's the statue of them together. And of course, they did great ecumenical work back at a time where there was more religious division in the cities. That's true, isn't it?
Sure, yes.
And you can remember those days?
Yes, very much so. I think they were a real figurehead to, and it's like a catalyst to bring people together. And it was under them that covenant was signed between the different churches, and sort of greater cooperation in many ways. I mean, I can remember as a child, there were times in the year in the area where I lived, where either one faith or another would keep indoors at certain occasions,
so you're
like the
talking
12th of July or
and
times like that.
St Patrick's Day.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I've spoken to police officers who said they can remember, those being serious days of serious policing.
And even the occasional window through a church and things like that by people who'd maybe had a bit too much to drink or whatever and were a bit sour about things. Those days have all gone now. Liverpool is through the work of people like Archbishop Warlock and David. Then it was carried on by others then. But, they were a great figurehead for saying, look, we need to cooperate more closely. We are all one in Christ.
Used to call them fish and chips, is that right?
That's right, yeah, because they were never out of the papers. Which that was a lovely Liverpool expression, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely. And so you work well with the other cathedral, with the Anglican Cathedral.
We do, yes, yeah.
And what kind of things have you?
Right, well, at the moment, there's lots of ventures with, I think we've tried to move in just recent times on some more social issues. Obviously, we do share services together. We have joint services at times of the year. The choirs work closely together and things like that. But to try and work a little bit more closely socially. So in recent times, we work together on a food bank. And
that's the Hope
Plus.
That's
called the Hope Plus Food Bank. And food is collected at both cathedrals, but not distributed there because we think that the buildings are too grand for people to sort of enter into and find out, well, where can I get some food, So in the couple of local churches, which are more part of the neighbourhoods in the city, so St. Vincent's and St. Bride's, they're distribution centres in the week for people who want to come and use these tokens that they can get to get food. And thousands have been coming through over the time that we started this.
That's great.
And some of the stories are, quite heartrending, really, of some people who've come over to this country, and in terms of getting asylum and everything, and the stories that they can tell of what happened to them and how they got here, and then also some of the need that they have now that they're here.
Yeah.
So it's been
And
an
some of our
eye-opener.
local people as well.
Yeah. And really, it's not deans who run this. This is the ordinary people from the two cathedrals and the local churches who are involved, and they're dealing with these people and chatting with them and trying to offer them a little bit of help and support.
And do you get down there occasionally to see?
I mean, St. Vincent's is a church that we look after from the cathedral, near the Chinatown area, and I do get down there occasionally and see what's going on. Yes, because they actually use the church itself to give people a cup of tea and a cup of soup or something like that, and then they can get some food to take home with them and things.
And the Festival of Pentecost, which comes after Easter, which is the church's celebration of the coming of the Holy Spirit and the birth of the church itself. There's a walk, isn't there, between the two cathedrals, the Walk of Witness? We
have a Walk of Witness. We have, the tradition has been every 2 years that we'd have a service for Pentecost, a joint service, which was between the two cathedrals, but involved all the Christian churches on Merseyside and the church leaders. And we'd start in one cathedral and then have a Walk of Witness, which is always a joyful thing, really. Yeah. It sounds quite solemn, but it was always a very happy occasion with bands playing and things.
Yeah.
And we'd walk from that cathedral to the other one, and then just finish off in that cathedral.
So you're walking up Hope Street, as it were.
Yeah, across Hope Street. It's closed,
which is the title of a book by David Shepherd, I think, Up and Down Hope Street, or was that a book about him? I can't remember.
You've got me there, I can't remember.
Okay, that's great. And the choirs, you have joint choir events, I understand.
Yes, yeah, well, obviously they have a lot in common, they share a lot in common, both very professional choirs, and it's nice occasionally they come together. And in recent years, they've had this tradition now of joining together to sing the Messiah at either Easter or at Christmas time, Advent time.
Okay, and it's one of the most hopeful things that we can do as Christians is come together in unity in that kind of way. I mean, it's a sign of hope to the world that if we can't be unified, then there's not much hope, is there? Because we have entrusted to us a message of hope. So, but Easter is the season of hope, isn't it? In the life of the church.
Very much so, yes.
Can you unpack that for us a bit?
Yes. The time of year is always spring. Easter sort of sits in springtime anyway, doesn't it? And if you look at the seasons, you go through the death of winter to a newness of life, really. And for us, Easter is a celebration of the Lord's sacrifice of his death on the cross and then his resurrection. So from death to new life. And really in sort of the Christian calendar, that's our experience really. We go from Lent through Holy Week, walking with Christ, right to the cross, and then on to the joy of new life of Easter. And in a sense, what that says to us really in terms of our Christian faith is that that's in a sense a little bit what life is about.
Yeah,
that we
absolutely.
die to things and we rise to a newness of life in different ways, and ultimately, at the end of our life here on earth, it's not sort of a blank page. Then nothing else happens. That we believe that there is a life afterwards as well. So that's the hope of a Christian.
It's a living hope.
And it is a living hope. And in so many ways, if we look at our lives, we have to sort of go through challenges and little deaths in small ways. But we always cling on to a sense of hope. And that hope is in God, really, that, you know, the love of God will conquer all things, despite the difficulties, faith, even the suffering that we might face or whatever. And to me, that's the Easter message.
And it's a message that's very relevant, was always relevant. We don't need to dress it up in any new way or present it differently, do you think? Or
I think we probably do, actually. I think people really need to experience it for themselves, and I think in every generation we have to relook at that and how, not just how it's presented, but how we can help people to rediscover that truth for their time and in their lives. And it's like for all of us, we can hear the witness of the past, but also we need to sort of hear it currently presented to give that sense of relevance to people today. Quite how we do that is the big challenge, isn't it? And you know, all we can say is that it does have relevance, as much relevance to us today, despite all our sophistication and technology. It has as much relevance to us today as it did to the early disciples after the Lord's time.
Absolutely.
How do we get that across? I think people do have to, in some way or other, live through an experience to help them to see that there is from death to new life, and also an experience of God's love sort of there with them. But how we present that in a wider context, I'm not sure, really. And
so you've got a lot on this week. We're in Holy Week. And then again, obviously after Easter. And it's been great to have you on the show today and to come and share with us. I know your choir has been on Bay TV.
Yes, that's right. A couple of months ago, I think.
It's the first time we've had you on, and
that's right.
Great to have you back on Faith Matters, or probably on one of our other shows. So thank you for coming. Thank you to our viewers, and see you for the next episode.